Okay, we're back in the copywriting lab, and today I'm going to teach you the most powerful skill in writing. And prior to knowing this, my life was a struggle. 5 years of trying businesses, failing, agencies, ecom, everything just failing. And then when I really started to dig into copywriting and I learned this one skill, everything changed, and now we've done tens of millions of dollars in sales. And this is the most powerful part of that. We've talked about some basics on the channel. We've talked about like routines and stuff for copywriting, but this is the one thing that allows you to do two things simultaneously. Create desire, build trust, all with the one thing. It also helps you write more captivating work. And before I can tell you the skill or like show you why it matters, the thing you need to know first so that it works for you is what you're actually trying to do. And like, we're trying to sell stuff. But if we were to define a sale, it would be like, I give you money, you give me product or service. Done. Transaction finished, sale complete. That's all well and good. That's an accurate definition of what a sale is. But if we dig a little bit deeper, which we have to do because we're trying to facilitate these things, we need to find the underworkings or the underpinnings of a sale. You realize pretty quickly that what you're actually doing is selling a promise. You're selling a dream outcome, or you're selling an afterstay. People are never buying the thing for the sake of the thing. I'll give you an example. When you buy a painkiller, you're not buying the tablet because you want the tablet, you want the headache to go away. So you're buying the afterstay. But the reason why it's a promise is because there's no guarantee that it will work. And so at all times, if you think about that promise, at all times you're trying to create desire and you're trying to create trust. And that's all you're working towards at all times with all your communication, whether it's copywriting, photos, visuals, videos, everything. The two things you're trying to move towards are desire of the promise, which is value, and the trust that you can deliver on the promise, which is logic and attention to detail. And so knowing this, you want to move into the most powerful skill in copywriting, which is show, don't tell. And show, don't tell is something that like your English teachers will tell you. Like Hemingway talks about it. It's the idea of not using adjectives, but using concretes. So an example would be if you were to write a story and you would say like, Greg was a bully. That's one way of saying it, or trying to define the character. It's a very weak way of trying to define the character. But if you said, Greg had this weird habit where every time a smaller kid walked past him, he would spit on them, you'd be like, fuck Greg. Greg's a dog. And it's important to see how powerful those two things are, because the emotionality of the second one is why great writing is all about showing and not telling. Now, let's map this back to something we all love, which is pizza. And let's watch this unfold in the mind of the consumer to map it back to sales. Like if you go to a pizzeria and there's a margarita pizza and it says like tomato base. Cool, that's one way. But what if you went to another pizzeria and it was like margarita pizza, tomato base, in brackets, the tomatoes are hand-picked from our nonnal's garden. Which pizza do you want more? And I'd say almost everybody wants to fuck with nonnal, see what he's got going on, because likely nonnal's a G, and it's very likely that he knows his way around the tomato plantation. So what's interesting about this is like, why do we want nonnal's tomatoes? Like what makes us want that pizza more than the stock standard one? And I think both things happen in that little detail. The desire, we value that and we trust that. And let me break it down further. So in the desire thing, we think that there's time and energy and effort that's been put into nonnal growing the tomatoes, picking them, and then the pizzeria place putting it into paste, and it's probably going to taste different. It's going to be a different experience, and we want that thing because it seems rare and different. The other thing is the trust is like, if these people are going through all the effort of making poor nonnal pick his tomatoes, give them to us, and then we're going to beat them to a pulp and put them on the pizza. That signifies an attention to detail where we feel like we're in good hands. And the dream outcome in this situation is we just want a really great slice of pizza. And so that desire in that one sentence creates so much just from showing you the details and allowing you to pinpoint something and see that it's fresh, it's considered, there's effort involved. Value, trust, blah, blah, blah. So the question is, how do you do this? How do you get little lines in your copy like handpicked from Nonno's garden? And the first thing you need to know is, what is the dream outcome that your product is actually solving? What is the promise that you're making? That's number one. Number two is you need to list out exactly what are the little parts of value that your product represents. Like, is it good quality? Is it efficiency? Is it rarity? What is it? Like, what are the big adjective words that you would use to describe your product and why it's important if you were lazy? Write those down in a list. From that point, you want to have this big fact list of all of the ways that your product has come to be. Like, what are all the details? An example for us with our brand new, which is a sparkling water company that has infused organic mushrooms in them, is that our mushrooms are grown in a lab in Finland, and that lab is special for a reason, which is it grows its mushrooms on wood, and most mushrooms are grown on rice. And so the reason why it's important to have your mushrooms grown on wood is because it nourishes the mushrooms so that they have a higher nutrition density. And so just that example, it does two things. It tells the potential consumer who's interested in mushroom sparkling water that A, these mushrooms have a high nutrients density, but also the people that made this product have gone to the effort to source. And so we trust that because we feel like we're in good hands. If they've gone to this amount of detail, what are they missing out? And so for you, you want to have that fact list, and you want to find the things where there's been energy spent, where there's been effort spent, where there's like some unique point of difference, and you want to find out which facts actually can be mapped back to those big qualities that you have in your product and that ultimately map back to your dream outcome. And what you're doing then is, like, every piece of content that you write, or every email, or every landing page, or every ad, you're armed with these details that create desire and create trust at the same time. And so this is the most powerful skill, and it's going to take a little bit of pain. It always hurts your brain to come up with these connections because they're new, they're not spoon-fed, and nobody can give you this. Like, this is the stuff that you actually have to do yourself. And when you do it, just know that, like, however painful the process is for you to find it, you're likely to have like equal pride or equal content or peace on the other side. If it costs you 10 units of pain, it's probably going to give you 10 units of satisfaction on the other side. And it's probably going to open doors to more effective, persuasive copy that move the needle. Because if you're struggling to do this now, it means that you've got a lot of work to do. You've got to fill this operating system and teach it how to create this copy. And this is what it all comes down to. So, you know, I wanted to give you the most valuable thing that I could think of today, and I've been speaking to a few different brand owners lately, and they all had this same problem. Was like, they would try to create desire, but then the desire would have like an emptiness to it because there wasn't details that were shown. There wasn't this process that was being shown. There weren't these, you know what I'm saying. I don't have to keep on beating this dead horse with a mallet. Next week, we have officially sorted our warehouse malfunctions, and we're in a position where we can start to grow the businesses again without having any constraints. So we'll probably start to go back into the office a little bit more and show you what we're building out in the 5 brands that we're building and growing. So see you tomorrow.